on Russian soil will, of course, we'll see the bloggers, if they haven't already started writing about it, will. He was very, he used history as a political platform for himself. And so I don't think Russia-Polish relations advanced a lot under his presidency there. But, you know, with the Prime Minister Tusk, I would say very differently. We saw Prime Minister Putin and Tusk really talk frankly, openly. And I've always said that, you know, tragedy can bring about reconciliation. And I think that's what the Prime Ministers were doing. I don't think Mr. Kaczynski was there yet, unfortunately. But he has his opinion. He had his opinion, and everyone he should respect that opinion. But it was becoming more and more of a minority opinion in Poland.
What sort of legacy will he be leaving there in his country?
A man that stood up for his country, brought it into the European Union, which he felt very strongly about, part of the reintegration of Europe. And I think that the next step is actually the reconciliation, total reconciliation between Poland and Russia. You know, I lived in Poland for 12 years. Poland is very, very close to my heart. I still speak Polish better than I speak Russian. So, you know, when I look at Kaczynski, I see a man of great potential, great ability, great intellect, a man that was amazingly stubborn at times as well. But though all of Poland will mourn his passage because he made such a big difference in the last 20 years of their history.
Well, Peter, since you know Poland so well and this country has a soft spot in your heart, as you said, let's not take a look at the political landscape of the country. What will be happening? What sort of void is his death leaving there?
Well, you know, they have very good constitutional rule there. I mean, as far as I remember, Mr. Tusk will become acting president under the Constitution. I don't think we'll have any major changes. It's a relatively strong presidency, and so the Prime Minister will move into that position right there. And to be honest with you, I don't know if they're going to have to hold an extra election or just wait for this term to
Well, Peter, let's just update our viewers, maybe just joining us on what we were talking about and what we are discussing here in RT this hour. Well, we got some breaking news a while ago, a plane carrying the president of Poland, Lech Kaczynski, and his wife has crashed in western Russia. The plane came down on approach to an airport in Smolensk around 300 meters from the runway. Russian officials say the plane was carrying 132 people, including Lech Kaczynski. So, tragic piece of news indeed, and we also, information that we're getting off the wires is that the urgent session of Polish cabinet is to be held in Warsaw, and all Polish ministers will be heading to Warsaw for that session. Well, we now discuss this with our political commentator, Peter Lavelle, who knew Lech Kaczynski personally. And
you know, Marie, it's quite interesting here. I mean, until we get an entire list of who was on the plane, Poland's political elite took a major hit today, tragic hit here,
yes.
With so many high officials there. So that way, in that sense, Poland is being shaken to the core. When you have cabinet members, members of the security forces and things like this. Of course, Poland will pull through this, I have no doubt. It's a very solid country, a good, strong constitutional order. It's basically a time now for everyone to remember. And like I said, I disagreed so strongly with him towards the end of his career. When I knew him in the 1980s, we were more or less on the same page, very much so. Very shrewd guy. I mean, he was very small. It's a small man, okay? And I think he used to use that to his advantage because, you know, people would just automatically kind of underestimate him, you know what I mean? And he would always come to the fore and prove that he was a lot smarter, a lot wittier, and could see further ahead. And in that
was he enjoying popularity in his own country, think?
I think it was waning. I mean, this is you know, you touched upon it a little bit earlier. This is a generational change. That was the political elite of the 80s and the 90s. And he's an elder, on the day he died today, he died as an elder statesman in Poland.
We talked about Russia-Polish relations when he was the president, but what about his domestic agenda? What was it like? I mean, have a lot of things improved in the country while he was president?
Well, the thing is that he liked to, like I said, I remember when he was running for mayor of Warsaw, and I lived there, and he just was constantly pounding away at blaming the Soviet Union for this, blaming the Russians for that. And a lot of people turned around and said, you know, Lech, why don't we fix the roads? Why don't we get those hospitals, you know, updated? And I think this is what he had to confront a lot, because he could electioneer very well. He was very, very good at electioneering. But when it came to administration, that's when he pulled in his brother. and the twin.
I was just going to ask you, what was the relationship with his brother? Because both of them were in politics.
It's interesting because Lech was the brains and Yaroslav was the doer. Lech would come up with the vision, and Yaroslav would put it into effect. So they were very good that way.
It's like buy one, get one free sort of thing,
exactly.
when he was president.
Well, one of them had to grow a mustache because they were identical twins, so you couldn't tell the difference between the two. Amazing impact, and you can never separate Lech and Yaroslav in that sense because they really were the dynamic duo of Polish politics. But like I said, more and more people were saying, let's get down to the here and now and dealing with the financial crisis, European integration, obviously. One thing Kaczynski, one of the major legacies is that he was a staunch American ally. And you have to remember that the Polish diaspora in the United States is huge.
Yes.
It's a good part of the middle class today there. And so he played on that very importantly, being a very staunch ally of the United States. It didn't matter if it was a Republican or a Democrat. It was in the Americans he always sided with. To the point where, again, it would kind of irritate his European neighbors because they wanted Europe to speak as a one voice. But Kaczynski believed that he had the right to play that special relationship, very much like Britain and the United States and Poland, a very, very special relationship. Even when I lived there in the 1980s, and you have to remember part of that time was martial law, and Lech was in prison during the time, and but Poles still could go to America. I mean, even during martial law. So he would always play that card, always make sure that Poland and the United States were on the same page. And, of course, he would use that as a pitch against the then Soviet Union and today's Russia.
Well, Peter, I'm hearing that we can now listen to what the Emergencies Ministry is saying from Smolensk, where the tragic crash happened a short while ago.
We received information from Smolensk air controller that a Tupolev 154 crashed in the Pechersk district at 10:50. It was a Warsaw-Smolensk flight. Operational groups, fire teams, duty shifts and rescuers are in the area. That's all I have for now. There's no information on survivors.